so now I help people debug themselves, because the most powerful upgrade isn't in your tech stack, it is in you.
So the goal of the break is to gather your energy for the coming hour. And there's ways you do that. I need to do my daily goal with a bit more focus. I'm in a place where I sometimes am able to allow myself to be defocused, and I sometimes lose the habit. The expanding nature of going and seeing other people and working with other people, seeing what it's actually like, is, again, really powerful.
This is the Uncommon Leadership Roundtable, where we bring smart people together to discuss hard topics in a fun way. And today our topic is resilience in these overwhelmingly changeful times. I am your host, Michael Hunter with Uncommon Teens. And joining me today are Fortune Buchholz, who has 20 years of business agility in being a fractional whatever, as well as an accidental proof engineer and AI-assisted agile logician. She's currently working with Kent Beck to formally verify a Rust B tree library in Lean 4 for his Living Objects project. Fortune, what helps you stay resilient?
Thank you for having me, and thank you for asking, Michael. I'm very grateful to be here in such a distinguished group. So I kind of think of 5 things, I guess, and one of them is that I try to make sure I have time between every meeting, so I have time to breathe and recenter. I love to have walking 101s when possible, right? It helps to just move and get outdoors. I journal a lot, right? I try to think about not only cognitive load, but also cognitive agility. And then I also want to talk about practicing difficult conversations to control the stress, you know? So if I know I have to have a tough conversation, I want to practice that with radical candor or nonviolent communication. I want to make sure that I have good plans for liberating structures, workshops that are particularly difficult, or stakeholder meetings that are going to be difficult. And for cold start problems, I want to make sure that I have thought through all the possible a range of tools, and to kind of get an arsenal of Kent Beck's thinkies that might come into play.
Thank you.
For the third, great.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so for the third one, since I mentioned 5, I wanted to always work on the why, right? I want to make sure I'm always working for a purpose, and that helps give energy, both mental and physical. And then I also want to talk about your support network, your social capital, and your peer belonging, right? I want to always invest in deep relationships because, they help you bounce back. They can be your trampoline, and that's so crucial. And I know that both Otter and Paige and Johanna have done that for me in the past. And then I want to talk about deliberately developing yourself, right? And that talks about emotional range and metacognition. I want to build self-awareness loops. I want to see emotions as data and be curious about them, to fall into Otter's curiosity gap. And I want to practice naming my stress responses and what I'm feeling. That way I'm always in agency. Does that make sense to you?
I love it all. This sounds great. We have about 5 roundtables worth of topics already.
Yeah.
Also joining us today is Johanna Rothman, the Pragmatic Manager. Johanna offers frank, practical advice that you can immediately apply to your product development challenges. She helps leaders and teams uncover effective alternatives to their current product development practices. Since one size never fits all, she works with her clients to explore options for what and how to change. The results: leaders and teams who learn to collaborate and focus on outcomes that matter. Explore all her books and writing, which is a whole lot, at jrothman.com and createadaptablelife.com. Johanna, what helps you stay resilient?
First, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here. And I have one major thing, which is what is my overarching goal for today, this week, this month, this year? And I might have several goals for the year, but I only have one for today. And if I focus on that one thing and finish it, I will then be able to adapt and get to the next thing.
That sounds great. And that is the first chapter in my upcoming book. Thank you for the pre-promo.
You're quite welcome.
We also have today Paige Watson, who recognizes the importance of embracing quality software as craft principles. As a technical coach and community mentor, Paige is dedicated to elevating developers into cohesive, high-performing teams capable of swiftly delivering top-tier software that meets the evolving needs of clients. He is an active speaker and educator, conducting workshops at various global corporations to share insights and strategies for excellence in software development. Paige, what helps you stay resilient?
So honestly, things like this. I I think I'm very much the extrovert, and unlike Tim, I very much believe that connection and communication, whether it's in the office or in the community, is really important. So I do a lot of mentoring, I do a lot of teaching, I do a lot of talks, that sort of thing. All this sort of thing gives me energy. And I love what Fortune was saying about the walking 101. You know, uh, I want to just, if I get frustrated at my desk or something, like, let's get up, let's go take a walk, let's go just talk about this as we go around, that sort of thing. I love that human connection. It's so important. And so that's what keeps me in there.
Thank you. And that is one reason we're all here today, is to connect with each other. We also have today Tim Ottinger, who is a longtime extreme programming / lean / agile delivery expert and author. And also, I hear he is the person if you want to learn test-driven development. Tim,
Wow.
what helps you stay resilient?
So thank you for that. Paige, by the way, is also no slouch on test-driven development. Let's get him in there. But I think probably there's an old saying that if you don't enjoy rain, then you'll have just as much rain as everybody else and less enjoyment. Right. So I think there's something to the idea that, we're not done yet. You think, what's your favorite food? What was your favorite before that? If you go back far enough, it was human milk, and you probably don't enjoy that anymore. So, as you encounter new things, you develop new favorites and new ideas. And I think there's something important about rushing to meet the future you and not missing those opportunities. So it's the curiosity, I think, that mostly drives me forward. And it brings me to meetings and out to conferences, because if I go, I'll learn new things and I'll have new ideas to take home with me, even though I'm an introvert and it wears me out.
I am with you there. And I am the uncommon hero. I partner with tech leaders to uncover the invisible dynamics that block quality, stall change, and quietly drain energy from their teams. These are not process problems, they are culture puzzles, subtle, systemic, and deeply human. I am uncommon because I don't swoop in with fixes. I journey beside you to co-evolve your culture and help you recover the parts of yourself and your team that may have gotten a little bit lost. I started out debugging code, then I switched to debugging people. realized that was inflicting help, not offering it. And so now I help people debug themselves because the most powerful upgrade isn't in your tech stack, it is in you. What helps me stay resilient, I will ditto everything everyone said, although like Tim, I am very not an extrovert, and being with people wears me out immensely. And one I will add is my dog, BB, who helps me with all of that. She has a gorgeous coat that everyone comments on. She wants to go meet everybody, even if I don't. And she and I both enjoy being outside. With all of our topics, Fortune, where would you like to start today?
Uh, so I'm really very interested in hearing what I think is the direction from everyone else. And that's kind of like, what did I want to say? They're miniature recovering routines, things that you can do during the day, those tiny meditations, you know? I think I heard Tim, Paige, and Johanna each mention one. I'd like to hear more.
Let's start with Johanna.
I'm not, so I think, so let me, I'm a little surprised by that because I did not think I mentioned a routine, but I do have several routines. I always write first thing in the morning. I always focus that writing on on the thing I want to finish. I always take at least 2 walks during the day because I am, well, I only walk with a rollator now. I find that if I don't move, I get stuck in my head and my body, and being physically resilient also helps tremendously with my emotional resilience. Um, and I always read just before I go to bed. And all of those, now I might, until you actually prompted me, I didn't realize I did all of these things. I'm an extrovert. None of you are surprised. So I have no idea what I'm doing until I actually say it. Yeah. Thank you, Paige, for nodding along with me. But I find that this is all of my little routines, and I can adapt all of my routines. Right, I change the amount of walk, I change what I read, I change what I write. But the fact that I have all of these little routines make me much more resilient in the large, right? For maintaining a healthy life in all aspects.
Thank you. Paige, tell us more about your reset routines.
Yeah, as Johanna was saying, she didn't really think about the routines. When you started asking her, I thought, oh my God, what am I gonna say? I have to think about what I do. But I do have several, right? And when I'm writing code, or honestly, when I'm doing most of my work, um, it may be less strict when I'm not writing code, but I use like a Pomodoro type timer, right? And I make myself get up and walk out of the room or go look out the window, or we used to do this. We had rules like stand up if you can, don't look at your computer, look outside, go outside if you can, that sort of thing. Don't think about work, and just that, just sort of taking that break gets me refreshed, gets me out of, especially if I'm stuck, gets me out of that spot where I'm really stuck. And on a bigger scale, something that I started doing years ago, sort of mirroring, I do martial arts, and my teacher, she would set an intention every year. And so I started doing that every year. And one year I decided that my intention would be connection. And it meant something different in the dojo. But and I still do this, whenever someone says, hey, that's interesting. I'd love to hear more about it. Or, we should grab a coffee or something, any sort of reaching out for any sort of connection. I'm like, yes, let's do it. Right? It doesn't matter. Okay, I can make 15 minutes, I can make a half an hour, and let's talk and let's meet and let's see if there's anything there. And that I love that. And I do that. Well, here I am. But I do that a lot because I think it's really important. It makes me a better person, and I hope it makes the person I'm talking to better. And
From the little bit I've had with you so far, I would say it probably always does.
well, thank you.
Tim, what helps you recover throughout the day?
I want to thank you, by the way, again to Paige, for bringing up the discipline breaks. This is something I've been writing up for a long time and other people before me. But the idea is that the purpose of the break isn't to recover from being tired, because once you're tired, and it's going to take more than 10 minutes or 5 minutes. So the goal of the break is to gather your energy for the coming hour. And there's ways you do that. And I think what he described is good. You change your focal length because your eyes get tired and you don't want them to be closing on you. So you change, you go look out the window, you walk away from work, which, by the way, is really important if you're a follower of theory of creativity and Graham Wallace, who said that there's basically 4 stages to that. And the really important one is the second one, called incubation, where you get up and you walk away, you do something dissimilar and let your brain work on the problem in the background. So I think that's really important. Of course, there's, you have to let yourself out sometimes, right? I mean, you're going to be focused, you're going to be corralled into a particular problem in a situation that you're working on, and that's a good thing. By the way, work is a good thing. But you also then need to just let your brain run wild and have crazy ideas and invent things and try something that probably won't work in a safe way, Try to evaluate things, because if you don't let that creative imp out of that bottle, then he'll just die. You got to let him out. You got to let yourself out and come real for, 20 minutes, an hour, an afternoon, an evening. I think that's really important. And of course, in the neurodivergent way, music, the outdoors, nature, all of those things as well.
I think you're saying we should all let ourselves out to play every day.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Get to you in a second, Fortune. 2 things that help me recover throughout the day is, one, I learned that when I started drinking lots of water to stay hydrated, which helps me recover, I have to make lots of trips to the restroom. And that gets me all these other things, except not necessarily outside. With that break, I change focal length, I look at other things, and it gives my brain time to tell me what the solution really is versus the one I'd been trying to pursue for the last 10 minutes. And a second thing I've discovered works really well is, after I wash my hands, I go and do sit-ups, push-ups, weighted walks, little physical exercise for a couple minutes. That's a great reset also. Fortune, what are your reset routines?
So, every morning, I try to journal something. I also, every evening, do a loving kindness or Tonglen meditation, and just try to cultivate positive regard universally for myself and for particular people who might need it at the time. During the day, I too like to take Tim's discipline breaks. I'm a convert after I took his technical excellence class. And if you can take that technical excellence class, I encourage every person listening to this to immediately sign up, because it's life-changing.
But now I'm curious, these help us recover throughout the day, and they might be foreign elements to the people we're working with. How do we adjust what we do or explain what we're doing and why and with the people we're working with? And how do we help them do the same? Because it's going to help them as much as us. Tim.
So I have a little story for you. I was consulting to a company, and when I came to work with them, of course, I'm a consultant, so I'm not a contract programmer. I examine, give advice, try to help. So this team, we're talking about, well, what is the big problem? And they said, we're just exhausted. By 10 in the morning, we're slowed down to half speed, and it doesn't get any better until lunch. And then we go to lunch and we're okay again. And then by 2:30, we're just dead on our feet. Well, this is a great opening, right? Now I have something that I can say, okay, well, let's try this. So I said, okay, let's try this. I know this sounds like a lot, but every hour we're going to take a 10-minute break, and we'll take it near the top of the hour and get up and wander around and don't work for 10 minutes. So you'll set your alarm for 9 minutes and you'll come back on time. Do come back on time. That's going to be really crucial. But we're going to take a break every hour. So people, oh, we're going to lose, 1/6 of our productivity is going to go down the tubes. It's going to be terrible. Well, at noontime, somebody said, oh my God, it's noon. And people start checking their watch. You're kidding. Oh, it is. How can it be lunchtime already? Well, they tallied up and they found out they had finished all the work they had planned for the day. They went to lunch. They didn't hurry back, but 45 minutes to an hour and 15, wherever it was. And in the afternoon, they kicked in again, and we took a break every hour. And they had finished another day's work by 3. Now, I would love to tell you that this is a beautiful success story. But at the 3 o'clock break, a funny thing happened. We all stood up. We're breathing like, oh my gosh, that was great. Now everybody's smiling, laughing, joking with each other. And a manager across the room says, are you guys goofing off again? Every single person in the room, their face fell, and they said, I'm not going to take this break. I'm just going to try to push through until closing time. And they quit for the day. Guess what? They were right back where they started. By 5 o'clock, they were at 1/3 speed, and they were depressed and they were sad. I didn't get to stay to find out what happened in the long term. I'm hoping that they recovered and went back to breaks again because it's just so much faster. But that's a good story for you maybe because it's, you solve problems people have. You don't come in and inflict breaks on people who are fine, right? The fact that I know that they work, I'm going to take my break, and they can if they want to. Now, it's up to them. But if that's actually a problem they're having, solving somebody's problem gives them profluence, a feeling of moving forward. And the energy they got from that was so productive and so positive. It's a shame, though, that a manager's frown can stop all forward motion. And we should probably pay attention to that as leaders, because it doesn't take much to shut down progress.
Paige.
Yeah, I want to keep going with that because it brought up a thought in my mind about I've worked at some really amazing companies where the teams, the people there are full of joy, right? It is a joy. I often ask people, how many places have you worked where you wake up on Monday morning and you're like, yes, I'm excited to go to work? And for me, I can tell you it's at least 2. And those are the best places I've ever worked. And I want to get back there. It's like an addiction, like, okay, let's just do that again. And I think that even just the taking break sort of thing, like Tim was talking about, was one of those things. And actually, it was the manager thing that brought it up for me because we used to have managers coming over and saying, you guys are laughing a lot, and my teams are having a hard time working. And yet it was that laughing that was really, that's what made it enjoyable. That made us a team and gave us that ability to continue on and do the hard stuff because we enjoyed the people that we were with. We had the comfort and ability to try new things. It was okay to get up. I was talking about the Pomodoro stuff where we would take a walk. That was the whole team. Literally, the timer would go off and we'd all stand up and we'd all walk out and we'd all walk around the building together. And then we'd all come back and sit down and, that sort of thing. It's amazing to me. And I that's how we should be working. That's where we should be as an industry. I think, and this is way off of the resilience, but that sort of environment really brings about that resilience that allows us to continue to be great.
But joy is resilient, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's Michael, is it okay if I go?
Yes,
Thank you.
I was going to ask.
Thank you. And that's because while you two have, well, I think all of us have focused a little more on physical resilience. That's just the first level of resilience, of emotional resilience. Sorry, I appear to have the fall cold or something. There is a great book about resilience by Al Siebert called The Resiliency Advantage: Master Change, Thrive Under Pressure, and Bounce Back from Setbacks. And level 1 is physical health. Level 2 is problem solving. Level 3 is knowing yourself. What's interesting there, all of us have experienced that the ability to get our physical selves kind of back from where we were, also affect our problem solving and knowing ourselves. And when I hear those stories about managers, I want to take them aside and say, we need to go for a little walk, right? You and I need to center ourselves in a conversation and understand what it's really like to write code. And if you don't know what it's like to write code, you cannot possibly understand the dynamics of the situation and solve problems on behalf of your team, the people that you lead and serve. And I find that so distressing. I started off as a programmer, and to me, my writing also feels as if I'm programming, right? To me, it feels exactly the same way. I get into deep flow. It's great fun, and my managers have too often taken away that fun by their remarks that when that show they have no idea what it is that I do all day.
This is something that I struggled with for a long time, of being able to get up from my desk and go walk off and do something else, because I felt I had to, as Tim's manager story describes, be there at my desk. And it was never helpful. And even when I was standing there, I was taking breaks and doing other things in my head, just not physically. And it's integrating the motion and the thinking and our actions across all of our heart, mind, body, and spirit that I find really helps the solutions flow, the puzzles get solved, and the joy to arrive. So beyond Johanna's approach of grabbing the manager and walking away with them to show the benefits of taking a break, how else can we help people who may not understand the importance of these breaks and other forms of resetting ourselves? The value for doing that for their teams, and also just maybe for doing it for themselves. Tim.
I don't want to always be the first one that jumps in. So I was working with a team in Manhattan, and we decided basically it was supposed to be a kind of a workshop where we do real work. And what I had asked in advance was that the PO and all the rest of the members, QA, everybody was together. We're going to do this work together. It's going to be collaborative. So the PO was in the room. So the first day we did quite a bit of work, and we're working in unfamiliar programming language and lots of cool things going on. And the PO was there as much as he could be. He had to go off for meetings and come back. Second day, we're really making progress. He's helping us a lot. The QA people are helping, the programmers are working. Third day, we come in the morning. He says, "Hey, listen, I need to tell you all something." So everybody stops. We listen. PO says, "You guys work really hard, and we're just waiting." There's a comma there somewhere, right? He said, and we said, "Yes." And he said, "No, that's it. You guys work really hard. I had no idea that you guys worked really hard. You guys work harder than I do." He says, "I thought you guys are programmers, so you just know what to type and you're just being obstinate. But you're always thinking and you're always trying things out and having to learn constantly all day long. I had no idea it was like that." So this also, by the way, is of course riding on what John has said. Um, they don't know what it's like. There's a thing I call the law of the second floor that means anyone 2 layers above or below you in the org chart doesn't know what your day is like. And people hear that, "Oh yeah, people don't understand me." It plays both ways. Do you know what your grand boss's day is like? You don't. You've made up stories about it, but you don't know what your grand boss is living with and his grand boss, right? And after a while, you get a couple layers in there and people start to become kind of an abstraction. They are workers or they are upper management. And somewhere in that, you've lost their humanity and their personhood. But when you get together on something and you see what it really is, um, that's a huge difference. And I think there's nothing in arguing or explaining that can even hold a candle to experiencing somebody else's life. And maybe that's why our friends at Toyota had the Gemba walk. Go out to the floor, go see what it's like, go participate in the company you're running, know who your people are and what they do. I suggest maybe that's the most powerful of all the tools if you can get people to do it.
On this situation with management and development, lately I've just been talking to those who are curious and vibe coding with them, because then they can finally see what it's like. And I just asked them to, fire up something simple, Jupyter Notebook, maybe with Anaconda, something easy to install. And I say, give me a spreadsheet of some data, some simple spreadsheet, and let's draw graphs from it. And they're like, "I don't know how to do this. I don't know any code." And I said, "Well, just use Python. You don't have to know any Python particularly. Just tell me step by step what you think we have to do in order to draw graphs with a computer." And they'll sit down and we'll talk about it for about 20 minutes, half an hour. And then we'll just ask the LLM to do those steps. And at the end, it's only, 15 lines of code in Python. They can, in fact, draw the graph and then they get it, right? Because they've done it themselves. They see it. They see the cognitive load and the need to experiment and the need to think, the need to plan, to design. To understand that coding's more than typing, right? That the coding is the smallest part of the work.
Johanna.
And they've had a chance to collaborate with each other. I think that we, as an industry, we do not do enough inside team collaboration. We do not extend our collaboration across our lateral peers, our small world networks. And we definitely do not do nearly enough collaboration vertically in the organization, right? A lot of senior managers. So I am often oblivious to social cues that other people see. And back in my 20s, at every single company I worked with, I was known for taking the hand of a senior manager and saying, "I need to show you this, right? You need to see this now because our customers are going to see it." And everybody else I've talked to says, "It's okay, it's okay, it's okay." No, it's not okay. You need to come with me. And these poor tall men, they had no idea what what this short little woman was going to do with them. But every time I grabbed them and showed them, they all said, "Oh, no, we can't have that." And but they needed to see it. And that second floor thing, Tim, that's what prevents us from doing that collaboration vertically. And I think that that's really a shame.
I'm not making you stop, Johanna. Finish your thought if you're not done.
No, I was done.
Okay. Two things. This brings to mind two things for me. One is when I was well into my coding career and I would pair with kids, interns, and kids straight out of college. And the other experienced engineers would come over and say, "How can you pair for hours with that person?" Because in their mind, I was doing all the work and the other person was hopefully giving us some smarts from osmosis. I asked, "What do you mean?" And they told me what I just said. I said, "Come watch." Because what was happening was not that I was doing all the work by any means. And even when, so I got so many ideas from them. And even if all that they contributed for some period of time was, "Hey, you missed a comma there. That needs a semicolon. You have a typo there." That was hugely useful. That's a couple of compile loops saved right there. Then a question that this is raising for me is, what would happen if we just pair programmed with everyone upper management chain all the way up to the board of directors on some regular basis? Pair the chairman of the board or chairperson of the board with the intern. Let's see what happens. I bet it would be amazing. Tim.
Yeah, I know. For an introvert, I am of the breed chatty introvert, and that is what it is. So one of my early mentors, though, was his actual background was in addiction counseling before he went into management, and he said there's a lot of interesting parallels. And he says if you find somebody who um, has been a kleptomaniac, who's been a chronic thief, and you talk to them about not stealing, they imagine the life of a criminal, but without getting stuff. They don't understand that there is something actually different, right? That the quality of life changes when everybody doesn't hunt you down and chase you down, and you're not hiding from the police and your neighbors you stole from, and people can trust you and employ you. They can't see that because they're in a place that where they are. So the expanding nature of going and seeing other people and working with other people, seeing what it's actually like, is again really powerful. So I have, by the way, pair programmed with people up the chain. I pair programmed with CIOs and CTOs, and we did it in spreadsheets usually or on documents. There have been a lot of places where they had never collaborated like that. And sharing one person who has, some goals and visions with someone else who carries the technical expertise, and then seeing that it's not just I tell you what to do and you do it. That's programming by surveillance. And I'll pop a link in for the show notes. It's not programming under surveillance. It is actually an act of co-creation. And we always learn from everybody we ever do this with. And I'll leave that open because I think Paige is itching to say something about that, and I'll shut up.
I think you pretty much covered it. I've been in that place where I actually worked with the team when we were working collaboratively, and having the PO, the business, the data people come and sit with us really provides, like you were saying, really provides a better context. That PO, when we would say, "Well, I don't think we can do this," he never, originally there's always kind of that thought. I've run into these POs that are like, "Well, they just don't want to, they're lazy programmers, they just, whatever." This person knew and trusted us because he had sat with us, because he had been part of our work, because he collaborated with us. When we said, why would we do this? Or, maybe we should try it a different way, or this isn't going to take longer than we expect even. He'd be like, oh yeah, because I remember we were doing that thing, like there's a trust that gets built there. And it's not just a top-down trust. It's a side-to-side trust where the developers, when they would ask him and he's like, no, it has to be this way. Okay, all right, that's going to be a little harder, but you know why? Because we've worked with you, because we trust that, we all, I very much believe that we all do the best we can for what we know in the context of what we're doing. And, it might be different tomorrow, might be different in a few minutes, but for right now, I'm doing the best I can, right? And if we accept that and we understand that, then we start to kind of see other people in this way of like, all right, they're trying to do the best. They're, I'm trying to do the best for my team, my software, my company, my family, all that sort of thing. So is that person. So is the CEO. So is the person that's working at the front desk, or, the person making coffee upstairs, whatever. Like, and if we all see that we're all working that way together, it really changes the way that we work as a company and as a team, as a group. Sorry, it's again, off we go. But I really think that's important. We're talking about the collaboration. I really think that is the place we need to be in terms of making great software and working as a great company.
100% Paige. And that is all the time we have today. Tim, what are you taking away from our conversation today to experiment with?
Well, I need to do my daily goal with a bit more focus. I'm in a place where I sometimes am able to allow myself to be defocused, and I sometimes lose the habit. So I'm going to kind of follow up from Joanna, and with her advice, I will focus my daily goal a bit more tightly.
Cool. Johanna, same question.
I'm going to figure out how to support my clients in their collaboration, but by focusing, I think, more on empathy and loving kindness. I am often a Spock-like person. I describe myself like that, and I think I need to bring more of my heart into my work. And that goes from the standing up every 10 minutes every hour, walking around outside. It's all a piece of this.
Thank you. Paige, what are you going to take away and experiment with?
Well, there's a long list of books, specifically Johanna's, which I haven't read any, so I have to read all those now. Um, and then yeah, I don't know. I have to think about that. I think I got a lot more than I had expected, but I always seem to. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a great part, and that was a great part. So
You can follow up with me later.
okay, I will. Thank you.
Fortune, what are you taking away and experimenting with?
So I think joy was mentioned here a lot. And of course, that's a concept from Rich Sheridan at Menlo Innovations, who I think everyone on this call is just a big fan of Rich and loves him to death. I certainly do. And so I think a thing to practice is seeing how every day I can cultivate more joy with the teams and the people I work with.
Thank you. And I, like you, Paige, have taken in so much that I don't know where to start. Well, One thing that I am, one thing I'll do is get outside more throughout the day, not just on the morning, noon, and evening walks with my dog. Thank you all for joining us. Fortune, thank you for bringing us together. And Johanna, thank you for suggesting I contact Fortune for my next roundtable. And
Thank you all so
audience,
much.
Thank you.
go ahead, Fortune.
I was going to say, and thank you too, Michael.
You're welcome. This has
Yeah.
been great. The audience, thank you for joining us as well. And we would love to hear what helps you stay resilient and take your resets throughout the day. Thank you all.